We're 50 yards out from a par 5. You might have got here in 2. You may have had to hit a recovery. But in this video today, we're going to talk about, I've got 9, 8, pitching wedge, 52, 56, 60. If you're a beginner or if you're a decent player, which one of these do you use? If you fat it, if you scull it, how can we just get you on the green? And if you want to control the trajectory, get into stuff like VSP, low point, and where your weight distribution should be, I'll cover that too. It's all in this video. It's going to be the 50 yards wedge shot covered for different ranges of player. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. We got a little tutorial for you today. The 50-yard pitch shouldn't be too problematic. Doesn't matter how much strength you have, where your game is at. There's an area that you can absolutely capitalize on. So let's talk first off about the equipment and about the wedges. I've got in my hand my Mill Grind 5, 60, 56, 52. I could play this particular golf shot, which look, it pigeonholes us a bit, slight uphill. It's actually 49, playing 51. The key number though, that I have front pin is 46 to get to the green. So it eliminates the 52 because 45, 46 front and 50-ish with a little uphill to that makes this an interesting one. You're left with two options though in your 56 and your 60. Why are you starting with clubs, Trotty? Why aren't you just getting straight into how I play this golf shot? Because how you're going to play it against this slight upslope then impacts the bounce, the shaft lean, and the launch at which this club will come off, which is why you should always test your wedges on a flat area. Wouldn't it be great if we had that ASU type target where we could pitch to then feed back the information? You're going to be able to get a basic technique for this. You want it repeatable, but if you can practice this, and what Phil Mickelson said, he would practice 600-700 pitches on those little ASU greens every single week, or was it more than that? It was insane how much he said he would practice this, and if you do it, your fields can come to a good spot. So let's start with the basic technique for the basic golfer out there. First off, I've got my 60-degree wedge here, and I want the leading edge to be perpendicular, parallel to that target as we aim up there. You're then going to have your feet in a position where you either want them, for the beginner or the sort of entry-level golfer, square, or I don't mind slightly open. Now, open means left of the target. Why? Because that then allows this hip to be back a little bit, the lead hip for the right-hander, back, and I'm talking fractions, I've gone too much there, but if we go fractionally back, which then enables me to clear through and left on the golf shot as you look at it. But when you've got more loft on the blade, the start lines left and right, there's less chance because of the friction for me to shape this shot dramatically. Don't want to do that. So if I can aim fairly square to slightly open, for the beginner, that's good. Why is that? Because there's another element of this called vertical swing plane, which is if I have the body aimed to the right and I swing this way to help it into the air, I'll hit the ground early, and I've stuck the divot mix in there because I'll hit the divot mix on the way down. However, if I can get this vertical swing plane piece steeper, meaning more outside and left, and steeper in this shaft angle, the strike will be better. So stick with me. So a good way to practice that is if you were going to put a divot mix or something in there, stand nice and close to the golf ball, square to slightly left, then you swing and miss the divot mix. So you swing to the left. So there's your first feeling. You want the club to be outside and moving to the left. You want the hip to be back slightly. You want to be aiming slightly left with a square club face. Perfect. And you don't want to get into a world where your spine angle, there's the middle of the ball, spine angle goes back this way and bottoms out on this side. This is the death zone. This side is the good zone. Death zone, good zone. So we're almost going left and forward with our spine angle. My man's moving the pin. This is chaos. We shall reset and come back to you. You're an absolute newbie to the channel. You're new to golf. You like what you're seeing. Doomsday scenario. You've got an opportunity to make birdie here. You're panicking. Pick anything from the bottom end of your bag. Bottom end being the 8, the 9, the wedge. Any of these scory, fancy 52, 56, whatever they are. And just swing it halfway. And figure out, if I swing halfway back to halfway through, how far does that go? Then do it with the next one, do it with the next one. Because you're panicking. You've just got to hit it to there. So get the halfway. And how far does that go? The more you measure with each club, the better you're gonna get. Okay, so we're back. Pin has changed now. It's gonna be playing 65. It's 61 playing 65. All that changes now, which is actually pretty good, is I now go from 60 to the 56, but because the front edge is still 45, we haven't moved that, I can also play my 52. So I've got options for shots. We're gonna get to that. Bear with us. Your scenario while you're here though, you've got to set your intent, haven't you? You've laid up on a par 5, you've hit 2 good shots, you maybe are short on a par 4. This is when you're gonna find this, and I think for the beginner, you have to think about what does success look like. And success, to be honest, looks like on the green, right? That's a pretty good result. I think if you can know the back edge is 78 yards, you've got that 65 shot to play to. You don't want to go long, but you have to cover the 45, which is why I love the Sky Caddy, because it gives me the back, the middle, the pin, and the front. So a bit short, but not bad. So you know your first, and you got to practice this. You got to get your feels in, but your first shot is short. Again, left, turn left on it. Everything turn left. There, nice and close to it. Blade square. That's good. Okay, so how did I know that was good, and how did I know the first one was not good? What happened? More left, ball came out lower. Through. Didn't quite catch it. It's back into that little gully. There's a second bit up there you got to get into. Let's switch the golf clubs, because I know that my 52 for a 65, the 9 o'clock goes 75. So now I've got to take a bit off the 9 o'clock. So no speed. Runs up the slope a bit more. Long, probably not the club I'd use for this. Then you go back into the 60. We've got that 70 yards, so this one's 10-30 for a 70 yarder. So I've got to make a longer backswing to get it up there. Longer backswing, same technique. Deep. So you can see how you work all these yardages, you work all these clock faces, different options with the clubs. Grip lower, grip higher, but the thing that you must do is try and keep the same cadence and the same rhythm for the swing. So you've got your basic technique. This is a good 9 o'clocker, it's a good 65er. Pin high is always a good shot from this yardage. Go back to your amateur, think about what success looks like. Success looks like pin high. That's what it looks like. Certainly for me, as I play these, try and get pin high on the golf shot. And as you can see, they're addictive to hit. Let's go a bit lower. That should be pretty good. A little long maybe. But you're starting to get a feel for it, and you're starting to play around with the window of height. The window of height changes based on the spine angle. The more forward you can get, the lower it'll come. I no longer worry too much about depth of divot. As long as the divot is after the ball, that controls the low point. So let's set the expectation level for the beginner. Have it 8 shots, some of them not good. And one that I can't see over the ridge, which we're now learning, looking at the drone, there's a ridge there. That's the close one, so that gives you a different feel, which is also why you should walk up if you're on the golf course to get the feel for this. But they're on the green, you got 8 birdie putts. Are they tour player level? Absolutely not. One of them is, the rest of them are in the right element. So the final piece of this, you have to work your yardages up and down a ladder, hence the ASU greens and how important they are. But the next thing that you can look at, and I'd say this is more for advanced, and I actually got into a bit of trouble with this one, with my chipping. I like everything to be on top of it and work left. Giving it a bit more juice now to try and get that 65. That should be good, Q. Hair short. Okay, so now I've got the feel of the distance and I can turn a bit more aggressive onto it. But I noticed that there is that slope. So the next thing you can do, everything has been working left, working left. You can actually aim right. And again, be careful with it. Ball back. And try and run one. up the slope. That landed in a pitch mark and kicked right for me. Notice how much shallower the divot is. And the reason I don't want you to work on this too much is because you can end up falling back and hitting this way. But again, aim right, ball back. Now we're going to play in this danger zone of inside. There. And it'll skip. Long, but you could see that it was skipping and it was up there. You got to take a bit of juice out of this. So take a bit of speed out of the swing. 65 drawer. That'll be long too. And you can see, notice I said early on, bad pitch mark. I said early on that you can't get as much shape on your wedges by doing this. So don't aim too far right. One more. So notice how these draws are just giving me more run, and that is the intention. You're in a good spot to score. You either chunk or you knife your wedges. This is your wild card. This is your get out of jail free. This is your fortress of solitude. This is where you go to. You take your towel, you fold it so it's pretty small. You tuck it under that and that. This is for practice. If you're on the golf course, you see Justin Rose do it all the time. He does that. You can do that. Boom, boom, okay? You've only got, remember, 45 to the front edge. So you've only got to hit this 50 in the air. So I've got 52 here, because I know if I swing this half and half, halfway back, halfway through, you don't need to worry about that clock face. You just get yourself a full swing and a half and half. You have the towel connected, you put the ball slightly towards the camera, and you get your hands towards your lead pocket. The one thing you got to understand, if you go and help it in the air, it struck the ground there, okay? Let's stick a golf club into there. That's where the actual ball position's going to be. And I just want you to work on striking the ground the other side of it. And you do that by weight on the left side, lean the spine forward. You're just going to go half and half with the towel, squeeze the towel, and you'll drive it out like that, pretty low. Might be the best one we've hit, but this is the important thing, Q. Come and take a look at that. The ball was where the grip is. Look at where the divot is. And that was all done via setup from having ball position right back towards the trail leg, weight left side, towel, spine angle forward, and just down and left. You can go as deep as you want to go on that side of the ball. Everything we've talked about with vertical swing plane so far, set up, it's just to hit down on it. Now, I don't mean hammer it down. I just mean turn left. That is your go-to if you're screwed. In addition, and I've just grabbed the 9, the 8, and the pitching wedge, you've got to know for your wild card, this is 8 iron. You've got to know how far there and there. How far is that going? We just know that landed 44. Then get the 9 iron, because we know it's 45, 40, what was it, 45, 46 to the front. 9 iron, half and half, boom. How far's that land? That's your go-to. They're both on the green with an 8 iron and a 9 iron, swung to there and swung to there. Do it with a pitching wedge, do it with a 7 if you like, do it with a 6 or 5, whatever you fancy. Just have your full swing and your half swing, and you'll be fine. Hit the divot low point after the ball. Can't emphasize that enough. But look, you can have the fun, you can play around with it. Course maintenance wise, you gotta look after this, because you will leave divots. Worst ever. That'll replace itself pretty quickly here in Southern California. But that's why we have ranges, that's why we have fake turf to hit these off to get right and then get yourself dialed. But there's your overview. I want you to look at mainly fades in the shape. Draw them if you absolutely have to. But I guarantee anyone out here who's struggling is not hitting the fade, and they're not getting their spine angle in front of the golf ball to hit that golf shot. And then you can do a towel drill, put that under your arms and just keep everything together. You can do a smart ball in between your arms, keep them together. The last piece as a player is if you can just have your reference point, but then try and feel it. Anytime if you become an advanced player, you can feel the golf shot, you're gonna have more success. And it does become addictive for sure, just to hit and work on these. And that's how you want it to be. and give yourself options. Have fun with it. If you like what you're seeing, be sure to dive down in the comments. If you've got some questions, let us know. If you want to see more teaching stuff, then we can work it in with our wedges. Remember, a lower handle goes higher, a higher handle goes lower. We haven't really got into that, but that's another option. But have fun with it and see if you can improve this winter just on your pitch shots, because this is an area where we want to see all you guys get better.